Okay, welcome back, everyone. Josh Weber here in the Big Red Jelly office for the Branding Bros podcast. I'm missing one of the brothers, but I have replaced him with someone much better. Amanda over at Pressable. Amanda, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
This has been a long time coming because I think we've known each other for several years and we've been working with you at our agency throughout that period. And yeah, I don't know why it's taken so long for us to do this, but we finally made it happen. And so I'm excited.
Same. Thank you.
Cool. So before we jump into what is Pressable, what does Pressable do, hosting 101, which I'm really excited about because I think this is such an undervalued topic. Let's get to know Amanda a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your backstory. You can go as in depth as you want or not. What did you do before Pressable? How did you get to Pressable? And then maybe after that, we can bleed into, what is Pressable exactly?
Okay. So I have been in the tech sales space for, I almost don't want to say an amount of time because I don't want people to guess my age or anything, but it's been a minute. And I started my career by selling dynamically allocated, oh, this is going to age me. Dynamically allocated T1s and literally having a territory where I pounded pavement and went feet on the street into businesses and try to blow past a gatekeeper and like sell our services.
Wow.
And what I always tell people is that if you're going to be make a career out of sales, that's a great way to start because you really know if you actually want to do sales or not.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out I did. I became addicted to the rush of, like a sale and talking and meeting these cool people, so on and so forth. So I started in telco. I went into data center managed services, which was a very sophisticated and sexy product. I really enjoyed selling that. Then a multitude of different softwares. And I came to land at Pressable, which is an awesome company. We do managed WordPress hosting. And I specifically lead the sales organization here. My official title is Head of Sales and Enablement at Pressable, and I've been here upwards of 5 years now. So it's been a wonderful journey.
Wow. How big is the team at Pressable? I don't think I've ever asked you this. Like,
So our overall team at Pressable, I think I want to say we're somewhere in the mid 30s right now.
wow.
However, Pressable is owned by Automattic, who owns WordPress.com and a ton of other WordPress brands. So when you look at it that way, like our platform team is part of, the Automatic umbrella and, just some of our C suite is also part of Automatic. So when you look at it that way, we actually have a broader team, but like people day in, day out working at Pressable, we're in the mid 30s now, I believe.
Okay, wow. That's a perfect segue into just Pressable. Tell us about Pressable. And again, you can go as in depth as you want. What's interesting, I guess, just to set the stage is, um, Big Red Jelly, we're a marketing agency. We do a lot of web design. And as a consequence of that, we do a lot of hosting. And I went through the absolute ringer for 6 months looking for the right hosting partner. Not to butter your biscuits too much, Amanda, but like we could probably get to those points as to why we chose to partner with Pressable, which I think is very interesting. Um, but Pressable was it was a little hard to find, but it was a diamond in the rough. And then when we did find you guys, it was a match made in heaven. So tell us about Pressable, the company, the brand, etc.
Yeah. So Pressable is owned by Automatic, as I just mentioned, and Automatic owns WordPress.com and a multitude of WordPress brands like WooCommerce and Jetpack and WordPress VIP. And Pressable has always been actually this tiny little jewel inside of Automatic. And Automatic has very honorably really been like a tech first kind of a company, and really focused a little bit less on sales and marketing and just really focus on building amazing products and softwares that people really need and can use. Every company comes to a point where, it's time to start kind of making people more aware of their existence and their presence. And so, recently, I think Pressable has become a little bit more known in the WordPress hosting space, which is awesome because
Great.
we bring some very clear values and differentiators to the market. Um, just some at a high level, a few things that really set us apart that truly no other company that can say is that based on our being owned by Automattic, our infrastructure is powered by WP Cloud.
Hmm.
WP Cloud is a proprietary platform. It's maintained and managed by Automattic, and it exists exclusively and solely to power and optimize WordPress websites. So with WP Cloud, you get a 100% uptime guarantee, and we make that guarantee through a number of ways. Some of the most powerful of ways being that we offer geo-redundant, highly available services. So every layer of the infrastructure is geo-redundant. And then we also offer a very unique auto-scaling solution. So when you need your host to support you most, maybe you have an unexpected surge in traffic, some flash sale that you didn't expect to take off the way that it did, or maybe a celebrity unexpectedly endorses your product and you get this surge of traffic.
Hmm.
That's where your host is really going to support you. And in most instances, hosts are going to kind of like throttle your performance. You're going to see performance bottlenecks or downtime, worse yet. But Pressable is going to auto scale to meet the demand of whatever need
Wow.
happens. So those are a couple of the ways that we make those guarantees.
We were chatting earlier. Now, you don't have to go too much into depth. I will speak about this because I think it's top of mind for a lot of people. But there was the recent AWS/Azure kind of downfall. But I mean, it's back now. But it affected a lot of our clients who were hosting elsewhere. And it's interesting that you say that. What was the phrase you used? It was the host that you need most. What was that tagline that you used?
It wasn't a tagline, it just kind of came out. But I think I said, like, when you need your host the most.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's exactly how I felt and how some of our clients felt. It's almost like a good home insurance. It's like it's something you don't think about until it's too late. And then you really wish you could go back in time and say, okay, maybe I should explore a brand or a company that has a 100% uptime guarantee. That's pretty incredible. And so for me, that was one of the differentiators coming back to why we partnered with Pressable, which was interesting. And I think the other thing you mentioned, well, tell me a little bit more about um, how Pressable focuses on the product, because to me that was clear from the get go. There's so much hosting marketing flash going on out there, and it's really enticing. It's tempting, but it did seem to me like Pressable was just hyper focused on product development. Is that true?
It's totally true. And it's not even just that we're focused on product development, because I think a lot of companies will sit here and say, oh, we're so product focused. And they probably are. But I think that maybe the real difference is that our customers have the truest voice behind all of that product development.
Hmm.
So we have architected our platform in such a way that we're collecting feedback from people in real time. And we even have this feedback section inside of our portal where when people enter feedback of whatever capacity they want, it pings our entire organization in a Slack channel. And we actually review and discuss
Wow.
that feedback, and
Hmm.
it shapes our product roadmap. And that's not just a Pressable thing. I would say Automattic in general has always been a very product led, product focused type of a company.
Hmm.
And sales and marketing have been secondary. And now we're just trying to bridge the gap a little bit better with sales and marketing focus,
Yeah.
because that is also very important.
Love that. Yeah. I mean, I'm on the same boat. I think if you're obsessed with the customer first, product development, if you really focus on that, the marketing and the sales almost starts to grow on its own.
Yeah.
So now switching gears into what most of our listeners are probably interested in, and most of our listeners are entrepreneurs, small to mid-sized business owners, I would say, a lot of which are e-commerce, some are not, B2B, service companies, but they all either have or are getting a website. I mean, just starting with the most obvious kind of high-level question, when you get I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but what is the importance of choosing the right host for a business website? What's usually the elevator pitch on your side?
You've heard some of the pitch because I really like to focus on those differentiators, but it's not even just about choosing the right. I think hosting is just one piece of it.
Hmm.
I feel like you can't talk about hosting without zooming out a little bit first, because it's really about your total web presence. It's a digital first impression that you're making on people. We live in this like rapid consumption society, and we have an overwhelming amount of information at our fingertips at every given moment.
Mm.
So, it's like scroll, swipe, and, you're processing so much information so quickly. So you've got like just a few seconds to prove to people that you're credible, you're interesting, you're trustworthy, whatever it is. You've got a bad website, you've got ugly images, your website's spinning and it's not loading, like X or gone.
Mhm.
And I actually think that's why companies like Big Red Jelly and Pressable both exist,
Mm.
because I think that hosting, again, is like a secondary piece of it, but creating that online presence is really important because it's part of your brand and it's part of how people view you. And then secondary to that is making sure that that website, which in today's day and age, a website really is someone's entire brand. So a
Yeah.
lot of people don't even have like a physical storefront anymore. It's all digital.
Yeah.
And so when that's your brand, you want to make sure that, it looks good, but also that it's fast, it's
Mm.
loading, the checkout works, and all these different things. Um, so I think that's why, it's important to kind of hand things off to experts, and then focus on what you are good at doing in your own business.
So true. I mean, I see this a lot, and anyone who's worked with me knows I kind of evangelize this, but we still see it, I think, too much where you'll have a brand, you'll have a business owner, and it's a beautiful brand. It's a great product market fit is there. They're ready to rock and roll. Beautiful website. We spend weeks developing, designing, the best possible online experience we can. It's like running a marathon, and then at the very end we decide to quit or walk because then we go and I'm not going to name drop any hosts here, but we go and we try to save a few bucks
Mm-hmm.
on where we're hosting, and that's just like so unfortunate. And I find myself hopping on calls and using that exact analogy. I'm like, this is not a place for you to really penny pinch.
Yeah.
Sure, like pricing matters, but like you said, Amanda, I think it's you could have the world's best website, but if you choose the wrong host and it doesn't work for you, all of that's kind of for naught. You know what I mean? Do you
Yeah.
see that a lot on your side in your space? Unfortunately,
We do. And, just to be clear, like hosting, there's a lot of hosts out there. So if your brand or if your website is not ultra important to your brand or your revenue, and budget is like the most critical business decision behind hosting, then go ahead and choose a budget host.
yeah,
If it's not, and in today's day and age, most are not, because that your website affects your SEO and therefore your ROI and all these different things. Like, people don't realize it's all part of this bigger picture. Then you should absolutely not go with a budget host. It's like having like a good foundation under your house. Like,
yeah,
do you want your house to blow over in a storm, or do you want to just like go into the bathroom and wait for the storm to pass?
yeah. So true. I guess so. Getting a little bit more specific here, where do you think most companies go wrong when selecting a host? And maybe to add a little color there, what are some questions that a business owner should be asking when they're choosing a host? So, kind of a two-part question: where do most companies go wrong? What should business owners be asking when they're looking for a host?
This is actually a really good question. I want to look at it from two different lenses. So before I talk about like mistakes, I want to talk a little, zoom out just for a second and talk about two different mentalities when it comes to hosting, particularly in the agency space. And then we can kind of go into some of those common mistakes that we see.
Hmm.
But two different mentalities, namely in the agency space, that we see is we're working with agencies that say like, oh, we offer hosting to our clients after we're done with a service engagement, like web development being an easy one. And then we have other agencies that say, oh, we have nothing to do with hosting. We do our part and then it's up to the client. And in my personal opinion, the first one is the better option. And here's why.
Hmm.
Every agency should offer some type of a maintenance or ongoing services agreement at the end of an initial services engagement. It's one of the easiest ways to build recurring revenue, boost client retention, and, really increase your company's valuation. Services revenue is typically valued at a 1x. Ongoing, recurring revenue is valued at a higher multiple, sometimes up to or greater than 10x.
Mm,
So it's two different mentalities. And I would encourage everyone to not maybe focus solely on hosting for a recurring revenue stream, but it's such an easy line item to add into, the services that you're offering to build that recurring revenue stream.
yeah.
So that's A. And then in terms of like some just common pitfalls that we see, really, I mean, plug and bloat, underpowered plans, over customization, and then people wanting to come to the host to fix that issue.
Mm,
And then, what I'll say on that is that a poorly optimized site is going to perform poorly anywhere, even on the best platform.
mm,
So, that's where I think also a company like Big Red Jelly and the expertise that you guys can offer in kind of building that brand credibility is really great. And then you kind of hand it off to the host to kind of do the work after that initial build is done.
yeah. I mean, speaking as an agency owner, it's coming back to all the way back to why I really was attracted to Pressable. 100% agree. I think it was really good information about just creating that recurring revenue stream. If you're a web development agency, let's say, I mean, one of my biggest regrets is just not locking in on a hosting partner from day one. It took me several years to get there, and I still bump into agency owners who've done hundreds, if not thousands, of websites. I say, "Oh, who's your hosting partner?" And they say, "Oh, I kind of refer it out or I send it somewhere else." I'm like, oh man, and I hear the regret from them, which is like, "Oh, I wish I would have just like stuck with someone." But one thing that was really a feature that stood out to me impressive, I think a lot of agency owners will sympathize with this, is you can resell, you can white label, you can resell Pressable, right, plans to your clients. Two things. Number one is I think Pressable is very good at being flexible with, well, how do we add other things in here so that we can create value for our clients that makes sense? And that's what we do, right? So it's like we've got the hosting component, we have a maintenance component, proactive support, yada, yada, yada. But then the second thing was what was really neat for me, because I had calls with dozens of different hosting providers, and maybe there are some now that offer this, but what I thought was really cool that Pressable did is allow you to set up, resell hosting, and then give your clients access to their portal or dashboard, and they have direct access to Pressable support. For some reason, that was like such a rare thing, and that was the number one thing I was looking for, because I was like, I want to give them great hosting, but I also don't want to be inundated with all the hosting support questions. You know what I mean? I want those to go directly to the source. And so many hosting providers were like, no, you either got to take that all on yourself or you can sign up for our affiliate program. I was like, really? There's no in between there? So that was a big differentiator for me at Pressable. I don't know if you hear that a lot from other agency owners, but
Well, what's funny is that when I learned that that was your main selling point, I was like, oh, like maybe we have something here. And I started talking about that more with other agencies. I didn't actually realize that that was a differentiator of Pressable's platform. And I really have you to thank for that, because once I understood that a lot of other companies don't do that, when you're talking about managing hundreds and thousands of sites, and by the way, we've got tons of clients doing that, Big Red Jelly being one,
mm,
that actually is a big selling point because it removes even more of that burden of time from what you guys are
oh,
doing. So I have you to thank for being able to point that out to other people and leverage it as a selling point. Thank you.
yeah, it's true. And I don't think a lot of agency owners that I know it's a pain for them, but I think
Mhm.
just identifying that that is a pain, even subconsciously, I think that's one of the number one reasons that web development agencies don't want to white label or resell hosting, because they're like, man, this is just going to create another stream of tickets and maintenance stuff. And they maybe dealt with that before, but there are options out there. And so, yeah, big shout out to Pressable. So my last kind of set of questions are just talking about the actual Pressable benefits, deliverables itself for those a little bit more tech savvy. What do you usually go into? What are some of the differentiators about Pressable hosting?
The truest differentiators really come down to, the fact that we're powered by the WP Cloud platform. And the way that I say this to people, and you mentioned AWS earlier, and like that's funny because the way that I say it to a lot of people is, hey, like our platform is powered by the WP Cloud. WP Cloud is proprietary to Automattic. We maintain and manage our own platform. It's built exclusively and solely to power and optimize WordPress websites. Our competitors are leveraging AWS and Google Cloud, and those are very powerful companies, and they're probably very good performant platforms as well, but they exist for far more reason than hosting WordPress websites. And then, of course, there's some different nuances that you get on a platform that's not built with a WordPress first mentality versus one that is. So that proprietary WordPress platform or WP Cloud platform is huge. With that, you get 100% uptime through highly available geo-redundant infrastructure. And then, of course, that very unique auto-scaling infrastructure. If geo-redundancy is even an option in another host, you are talking about a significant premium. And that's just built into how we deliver our services on the low end to the high end. And then expert level support. So our 24/7, 365 support team is, they're all trained in WordPress by WordPress. They've all got developer level expertise. To be clear, we don't offer developer services, but what that means is we can go very deep with diagnostics and kind of give you the information that you need to fix your website. And we don't have a triage system for support. So the first person that you speak with is going to be able to resolve your issue. Do we have different support, experts that have more expertise in one area of WordPress than another? Absolutely. But we work as a team. So, you're always getting like the best brains behind whatever your question or your riddle, I guess, of the day is. Um, and then just so many things that just come included. Unlimited bandwidth. Being that Jetpack is another Automattic company, we give you a free Jetpack security or a Jetpack complete license, depending on, if you're on our signature infrastructure or premium infrastructure. We've got WooCommerce expertise because Automattic also owns WooCommerce. So you get connected to all these different Automattic companies and products. And in fact, Automattic has a newer business unit called Automattic for Agencies, and Automattic for Agencies is incredible because it's basically connects agencies to every single Automattic product really easily, and it gives you a ton of agency perks like plugin discounts and just some extra things. So we've got a really solid agency focus and mentality as well.
Totally. Incredible. Anything else, Amanda? Any questions I didn't ask that we should dive into? Anything else about hosting, Pressable, Automattic?
I think we covered, the meat of everything. I'm so grateful that you had me on the pod today, and I hope that this is insightful and interesting information for people out there that, wanted to learn more about hosting or Pressable or Big Red Jelly or all three.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think especially small business owners, startup founders, it's such an underappreciated topic. We don't think about it until it's too late, until there's a major problem, a major fire. So yeah, I think this stuff is kind of mission critical to figure out at the beginning. And it's overwhelming. As you know, it's a competitive space. I feel like there's hosting providers popping up and some are going. And I guess that's my final question for you. What's it like in the industry? Where's the industry going? Are you seeing any trends? Is it competitive? What's happening in the hosting space, and or what's next for Pressable in the next 1, 2, 3 years?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, so yes, just to answer your question, the hosting space is very competitive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hosts out there. And that's why I really like to focus on our truest differentiators, because those things that I mentioned are things that really nobody else can say. So I think that you've got different levels of hosts, right? You've got kind of like the lower end, like budget hosting providers, and they serve the market or specific audience that they serve just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've kind of maybe got like a mid tier hosting provider. I would kind of put Pressable in that mid tier because we really serve like that single website hosting market all the way to like agencies that are managing thousands of sites. And then also sophisticated brands who have these mission critical websites that are truly an extension of their business that need a little bit more of like a premium enterprise light type of a setup, right?
Yeah.
And then you've kind of got your like tier three more enterprise hosting providers. I would say like WordPress VIP, which is another company in Automatic's brand, is one of the best at serving that market.
Yeah.
So I think that you kind of have to look at hosting and you kind of have to decide which audience you belong to
Mm.
and then figure out, who satisfies your needs at that level.
That's
So
helpful.
there's that.
Yeah.
It's competitive at every single level. Everyone is, trying to win business and everyone's trying to get very competitive. So focusing on unique differentiators is very important. And then remind me, what was the second part of your question? Where is
Just,
Pressable
yeah, where's
going?
Pressable going? Any exciting things happening? You guys just growing as per usual? Any,
We are growing like crazy. I will say that maybe about a year and a half ago, we created a new premium site offering.
mhm.
Premium site offerings are designed so our signature plans, which are kind of our bread and butter, are designed for hosting a large volume of WordPress sites and kind of sharing resources like visitors and storage across, kind of a multitude of plans. They're suited for agencies. Our premium focus is really designed for brands with, single websites that require a lot more like CPU processing power and just a more premium touch for whatever the reason. And so we have seen a huge demand in that premium hosting space. And so I don't want to say that we are shifting gears because we're not, but we're also embracing that layer and that part of hosting. And I'm really excited about the brands and the companies and the agencies that we've been working with in that more premium space. So that's been really exciting.
I remember when we were chatting about that at WordCamp. It was cool. It was
Uh
exciting.
huh.
I got to follow up with you about that. Yeah, I think my final kind of two piece of advice that you reminded me of was, um, number one, you mentioned something earlier, the support. I think that's again so undervalued. And so if you're an agency owner, you own a brand, test the support of that partner you're about to work with because that can make or break everything. And so it's almost like, yeah, the product has to be right. It's got to do, it's got to have the firepower that you're looking for. But what's the support like? You know what I mean? That can take it up a notch, or can just make it really terrible. Pressable support, I think, is second to none. They're phenomenal. Then the second thing is, I think one piece of advice for business owners is the don't take the pricing at face value. Do a little bit of research. I see, I'm not going to, again, name drop anything, but I see a lot of kind of trickiness out there in terms of how hosting is priced. I think Pressable does it in a very fair and transparent way, but sometimes I might go to a hosting provider and it's super cheap. And it's like, well, makes sense. Let's sign up for this. And then, oh, there's these actually really critical components that aren't included. And now I got to pay more, right? It's like buying a ticket to a music festival or something. It's like, oh, it's good, but by the time you're checking out, it's tripled somehow. You know what I mean? Or taking a flight on one of those budget airlines.
I was just going to say that's my example that I use when I talk to people. I'm like, that's the Spirit Airlines of hosting. It's like you buy the package and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I need an SSL certificate. Wait, I need visits.
Yeah,
Wait, I need bandwidth. And then all of a sudden, you haven't saved any money at all.
yeah. I was going to mention the SSL certificate thing. That's yeah, so true. So it's not always what it seems at the beginning. And so a little bit of research goes a long way. And yeah, so Amanda, this has been great. Thank you for joining us. Amanda over at Pressable. Anything else?
No, thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy getting together with you. So, we'll have to do more of these.
Likewise. Okay. Thanks, guys.